Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We wrap the NFC East today and tomorrow, Andy. But we do something else fun in the same moment, which is we cover previews for last year's finalists in the NFC. The NFC Championship game, of course, contested between the Eagles and the Commies. Today is Commies, tomorrow's Eagles. Can you set me a line on the probability that at least one of those teams gets back to the NFC title game? It's a big number.
I mean, it's like 50.
At least.
I'd 50%. I don't know. It's so hard to do it because, I mean, for at least one team, you have to win multiple games. Sam doesn't like the thought. Weird that Sam's chiming in. I expect plenty of that today. Yeah, 50-55. It's still tough. You know, the Lions, even if they do take a step back, it's a very good team. The Vikings are a good team. The Niners are likely a pretty good team. Honestly, the Cowboys could be a problem. The Rams, the Bucks, the Falcons. Like the NFC is not going to be a cakewalk. So if I'm sticking with 50.
Okay. The odds for the Eagles to win the NFC are 3-1. The odds for the Commanders to win are 8-1. So yeah, I guess you're probably closest somewhere. Like the market would say true odds are somewhere between like 40 and 50. It is an interesting handicap, of course, for the Commies. This is a team that broadly outperformed expectation last year, largely because of three factors, one of which all three, actually, we have to explore all three, I think.
When did you believe?
Wow, let me look at their schedule.
I was gonna say because I can tell you when I did because of my power ratings. You know, like I keep a week by week, and as we've talked about several times, we started this team pretty bleeping low.
Yeah. For me, it was week 6. Following week 6. I thought they were going to get their absolute doors blown off up against real competition finally in the Ravens. I thought it was going to be a welcome to the NFL moment for Daniels, and they were in that game. They were very in that game, and then you're just like, wait a minute. I've been watching a lot of Jaden Daniels. Is he a top 5 quarterback? Like what? Like how? Huh? And I think there were bumps in the road the next couple of weeks. Not the next couple weeks. The next week they absolutely blanked the Panthers. But then Daniels got hurt, and it was a little bit of a rocky stretch through November as he was dealing with those injuries. But then once you can kind of gauge he was full strength again as they played the Titans into the close, it was like, okay, no, these guys are for real. I didn't go to the wall with them. I didn't go to war with them at Tampa in the wild card round because it was like, I mean, Daniels looks special, but is he really going to win his first ever game as a playoff quarterback? He did. Backed it up with a stunning upset over the Lions, who were rested and healthy, but they hung 45 points on that Lions defense.
That was the problem. The Lions defense was fucking horrific.
I backed the truck up against them in the Eagles game, largely just because it's an extremely tough place to play a playoff game of that magnitude. And it was the 4th consecutive game in a row for the Commies. And even in like a 30-point loss, I felt like I didn't know. I was like, it kind of was closer than I expected. They were plucky at times. Like, I mean, this Washington team was not a fluke last year, and it is 100% because they hit on their quarterback. Jaden Daniels is for real. There are, the kind of the autopsy and reviewing the tape and all of that in the offseason was like, okay, I see what they're doing. I see why it's working. And this is not like squint your eyes and it's like, is this repeatable? Is there going to be a sophomore slump? A schedule's going to be tough.
Well, I mean, look at we're doing the Texans preview from last year, essentially. Like, oh man, they got the coaching staff in place, they got the quarterback they wanted. Like, how far can this team go? Or is it going to go the other way? And you often focus on the positive because that's more fun. Just real quick, touching back on that, it's funny that Sam mentions the Cardinals game in week 4 because I don't remember my aha moment, but just looking at my power ratings, it was that Cardinals game. Because if you remember, I bet against them in week 1.
I was
the big
it was a winner.
Yeah, it was a winner. But so then, I had a weird Giants game. That was an ugly Giants game where I think that was the field goals game. But he was good. They were like, I think they were 0 for 7 in the red zone or something hilarious. Go into Paycor, beat the Bengals team, and then just beat the brakes off Arizona. And then that's where I finally was like, this kid is again. I'm talking about what I assume happened because my power ratings went from it started with about a -6.5, did not move into week 2 because they lost. Into week 3, I moved them about to a 5, below 0. And then into week 4, they were a 4. And then suddenly week 5, I'm like, this is a -1. And then I moved them up after the loss to the Ravens again.
Yeah.
So they went from a -6.5 to at their peak, 3 or 4 above. It's one of the bigger moves. I mean, that's what it takes. It's like, we don't know that we have a quarterback at all. And then it turns out we really, really, really do. And my biggest takeaway, I guess, looking back at everything I learned was, it's going to sound like a dickish thing to say about him, but he's like, Jaden Daniels is just a lot smarter than I thought he would be. I guess I didn't think he was dumb. I just assume that every quarterback kind of has this baseline level. But, and you see other people say this exact same thing about him. Is like he took what you gave him kind of thing, which speaks to the football intelligence of a quarterback. Like, hey, I'm going to run here. Or we say that about Mahomes all the time. It's like, he's so perfect at figuring out when I'm going to run for 15 yards here, you stupid fox. Like, what are you doing? And it was the same kind of thing with Daniels.
I thought you were going to laugh out.
Even the deep shots he took.
I thought you were going to laugh out loud at a comparison I'm going to make on this podcast. But after what you just said, I don't think you are going to laugh out loud.
No.
There is sort of a fingerprint, a uniqueness that makes kind of a quarterback a top 5 quarterback, right? Yeah. And you didn't really see it, I don't think, with Herbert, despite his early success. And that was kind of why you really had to comb through the data to be like, is there a reason to believe that there will be like a more difficult path to him being regularly winning in this league? And there were some signs, right? And the same thing, you could do that with CJ Stroud last year, but it was such a weak division that it was easy to kind of slip into believing that the Texans were just going to run it back. But with Daniels, it's more clear to me that this is long-term repeatable as long as he stays healthy. He still has a little bit of a slight frame for me, right? I would still like to see him have, kind of a a little bit more of an adult body. Yeah, a little bit more of an adult body out there, but that's fine. I mean, not an adult body, but just like an NFL adult body. But like the kind of takeaway I got watching his game, and then the quarterback he reminded me of the most, Tom Brady. Like, the decision making was so fast, and he was able to execute no huddle so incredibly high at such an incredibly high level that I was like, this guy's like a mobile Tom Brady. Like, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing, and the precision, the accuracy in those moments where he's given very little time to evaluate the defense and make the right decision. Like, it was uncanny. And I was just like, if that's what you're getting for the Commanders, like, this is perennially going to be a team that is competitive as long as he's healthy out there, regardless of the pieces around him. So
I'd like to hear from Sam. How many in the next 5?
You think that's ridiculous? Ridiculous?
No. I mean, it's hyperbole a little, like, because it's 1 year.
I get what
the comp makes.
Yeah, just like skill set. Like, what was it? Like, what is it? Yeah, the
confidence, the poise, the decision making, the vision.
Yeah.
Again, just taking what they give you because it's chess at high speed. and with car crashes. So and again, I'd like to hear from Sam on how many Super Bowls they win in the next 5 years, because this is unprecedented. We never had a rookie quarterback come into Washington, play an amazing first year, and then nothing bad could ever happen to that guy. That's certainly never going to repeat itself, because he's not injury prone or takes a lot of hits. I'm super not worried about another RG3. Don't worry about that at all, guys. Things are going to be fine in Washington. Oh God.
No, I don't think that's fair, but
that is my concern. That is my concern, is like, he takes hits. He already had the rib injury.
Yeah.
He's got, like you said, he's got to get a little bigger. And as much as we lauded his decision-making, make the sidelines and your knee your friend. Like, slide more, sidelines more, maybe 3/4 of the hits.
Sure.
Also, just an offensive line that plays well. It's crazy. Like, so here's some numbers from an article that it was a beat reporter that was going off his preseason predictions, which he did well, because beat reporters are always sunny and rosy about everything, and they did good. But one was like how many sacks he was going to take. So they had a 40% reduction in sacks year over year. Jaden Daniels still took the 6th most sacks in the league.
Well, they ran They ran.
I know, but it's such a funny number, because of 2 years ago. The whole year just skewed everything.
The whole year definitely skewed everything, but also like the numbers for the offense for the Commanders, you cannot look at anything raw. It has to be rate, because they were just obscenely fast. And I think that if you have a quarterback that execute at that level with that speed, that unlocks a level of efficiency that is rare in today's NFL, because that means your opponents cannot meaningfully substitute to match up personnel, and that's a huge advantage. And I think the way they've gone about roster building, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, to me looks like they know that's their advantage, and they're trying to accumulate players who can do multiple things, so that you cannot, you cannot make a decision at the beginning of a drive of how you're going to defend these guys and expect that that's going to hold up no matter what looks you get, right? Like that I think that this is long-term repeatable. And I'm not kind of going to live in a camp of regression is coming for this Washington offense this year at all. If there are certainly reasons for, to expect regression. They were impossibly good on 4th down. This has been said multiple times, and I think everybody's kind of counting on it. They were relatively lucky injury-wise last year. They didn't miss, many games from many important pieces. And their schedule was very easy, right? So, if you want to look at them skeptically and be like, tougher schedule, year of tape. The year of tape thing doesn't really count in my book, but if you're going to say it, 4th down luck, injury luck, like this team's not winning 12 games again. All right. They're still in the conversation.
They're going to win 10 or 12.
Yeah, they're still in the conversation for 10. Absolutely. Like the schedule is tougher, but the roster is better. And so, I'm not sure that I would rule these guys out from making another deep playoff run, considering what we saw from Daniels last year, even in the playoffs. Like you said, you kind of comped this to Houston and running back. Well, there was a big difference between Houston and CJ Stroud's rookie year and Jaden Daniels' rookie year, Andy. And that's that they went on the road to the 1 seed, the vaunted 1 seed, and they beat them. The Texans did not. They wilted in the moment in Baltimore. And I think ultimately the confidence that comes from making a run to the championship game like that is that'll be fuel for them in a lot of high leverage moments this season. So
it's essentially a third host today in Sam, because this is his team. But I did want to kind of touch on this as well. I do think that 4th down regression is less of a thing than it was 10 years ago, where it's like, hey, this team went for it 10 times last year, which is a lot, because it's 1993 and nobody goes for it on 4th down, and they got 8 of them. They can never do that again.
Sure.
Like, the 4th down decision-making is tied into 3rd down play calling to set you up for these proper 4th downs. And the play calling around fourth downs and short yardage is so much smarter and repeatable that I think there are teams that it's a skill issue. Like if you can't raise your fourth down conversion rate from where it was 5 years ago, year over year over year, it's probably going to just be a skill issue for you. And eventually defenses will start to adjust to that and we'll find some sort of stasis. But good teams have fourth downs in the bags because they've realized like this is a massive lever we can pull. It's a huge leverage play for the overall win percentage in the game.
Yeah.
If we spend extra time on the short yardage, making sure we get this at a higher rate than the rest of the league, we're going to win 2 more games next year. Like it's so important. And I think smart teams are just good at it.
Here's one other wrinkle. You ready for this? I think they are specifically proving something I have long hypothesized about fourth downs,
PSG.
Which is go fast. Just go.
Yeah.
Like make your decision, get the play call in.
Yeah, don't take a timeout.
Don't take a timeout and let the defense reset and everybody get a blow and everybody kind of like gets real fucking worked up and we're like, oh yeah, here we go. We got to get this stop and we win the game, right? No, just fucking go. And like the ability to have a quarterback who can execute in with that type of time pressure it's awesome. And I think that is fueling a lot of their fourth down success, which to me means count on it happening again. It's not count on it regressing, or at least be open to the idea that this is just the way they'll be as long as Daniels is their quarterback.
I'm interested to see where the league goes because I think it's nothing is. I don't know if anything's going to be as big as like how the NBA just embraced threes and layups, but it's similar to something like that on a smaller scale. And Ryan in the chat's pointing this like defenses are going to start to adjust to this, knowing they're running third down plays to set up fourth downs and sort of thing. Like the chess match and where we end up in a few years is going to be interesting because it's just going to be a thing.
Burry brings up that the Lions were on their third string defense.
The Lions were pretty beat up.
But yes, but you know what? The Lions' third string defense held off a lot of other challengers, and they had an extra week to prepare for this matchup in terms of just being ready for it. And they were not up to the test. And third game in a row on the road for the Commanders as 8-point dogs and winning outright the way they did should make you sit up and take notice, even if it is
it's
a
one
thing
available. If they kick a last second field goal and win that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, they put it on them.
They beat them.
Put it
on. Yes, they did.
All right.
All right.
You want to go to the off season?
Yes.
Because there are a lot of people that are a lot more excited about this than I am.
Of course.
Spoiler alert. Like, I think this team upgraded, but everything they did has big question marks, massive question marks. And that's kind of the nature of the game. But I'll run through it quick. So the big ones, the 2 trades, you get Laramie Tunsil, an anchor left tackle from the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of picks for that one. The Debo one, and anyone who's like talking Fat Debo, I'm fine with Fat Debo. You traded a 5th round pick for somebody, and you have 10 other running backs, and he's fine being, one of 3 or 4 pass catchers that's going to get a lot of rotation. You have a running quarterback. I think you can limit some of the snaps compared to maybe what he's playing when he was at his peak in San Francisco. So 2 pretty good trades. And then, they re-signed a lot of people. Bobby Wagner re-signed for a year. Like it's a coach on the field. They need to figure out something else. They need to figure out something else at linebacker. He is 35 years old.
Yeah.
Same thing with Zach Ertz. Like you re-signed Zach Ertz. He actually played every game last year, which I would not have guessed if you'd have thrown me that trivia, but he's 35. And then, the rest is fine. Mariota comes back. Noah Brown comes back. He might be injured. They're not really letting us know. Igbinoe, Clellan Farrell, just some depth guys. Jeremy McNichols. The big acquisition that wasn't the trade was Kinlaw from San Francisco, where I think – so this is the one, too, where it's like he underwhelmed, and there's 2 trains of thought. So what's the GM's name?
For the Commanders?
Yeah. Adam
Peters.
Adam Peters. So Adam Peters was San Francisco guy, right? I think he drafted Kinlaw essentially.
Yeah, Kinlaw played one. He had a cup of coffee in New York where he wasn't very effective. Also,
yeah, I feel like it was so you're doubling down on a guy that didn't turn out, and you can.
Well,
you were right
like
5 years ago, or
they
whatever,
moved off of Jonathan Allen, which was kind of an eyebrow raiser at the time. But you're
so that's my biggest eyebrow raiser because. Especially because of what happened last year with basically anybody that Kwesi signed defensively.
Yeah.
And I want to say Kwesi and Brian Flores. Anybody that Brian Flores says, I want that guy on my defense, kind of did well. So the fact that the Vikings went and got Jonathan Allen makes me feel
awesome last year.
He wasn't. No, he wasn't. But I'm saying
that's
not who you want picking him up.
There's talent there for sure. We've seen we've seen talent from him.
Yeah, kind of sticking with losses. Jeremy Chin went to the Raiders. He played. I think you're just going to get a little different kind of safety play based on filling in with Will Harris there. Dante Fowler, we talked about yesterday, went to Dallas, and then from there it's kind of depth. Yami Brown, Zacchaeus, Cornelius Lucas was a swing tackle that you have Laramie Tunsil now, and Herbig. I just want to say it in some sort of German way. Herbig. Yeah. So you have a swing tackle. Yeah. Other than that, so they made some big swings. Eddie Goldman, he's a big ass dude. That's the one thing when we get to defense. I think my biggest takeaway from looking at this defensive line / front seven, they're freaking massive. There's so many huge dudes, and obviously they were so bad against the run last year. You bring in a Goldman, you bring in Dietrich Wise. He's another one where he's a run defender. You brought him in from New England. You should get better up front. You bring in Jonathan Jones. He's going to help your cornerback room. Yeah. You made a trade last year for a cornerback that essentially is, I'm almost counting it as an off-season move because did he play? Yeah. Well, he played in the playoffs. He got 3 penalties. That's about all I can remember from him. And then, into the draft, you went and got another offensive tackle. He could play tackle or guard. He probably is almost certainly going to be starting or in some sort of platoon right away. Another area of need, you get Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss, big corner. He was he's going to help. I don't know much about Jalen Lane, but he's fast as shit. He was a 4th-round receiver. And then the name that keeps freaking popping up is this Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, because they have 4 running backs, but they like this kid. He's flashed in OTAs. His name is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Those are all the names he has. He doesn't have some secret middle name. What do you think he goes by? Ja'Cory. What would you shorten Ja'Cory to?
Corey.
No. And his Wikipedia page says this too. And I found it in an article. He likes to be referred to as Bill.
Oh.
Bill, we're going to go with Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Jack was
He's
there.
Another weird
Corey
one.
was there. Bill. Okay.
Close to a 4.4 guy.
Bill Krosky. Real Bill Krosky-Merritt. Okay.
I didn't dig in on this. He had some eligibility issues last year. So he played 1 game, but he's fast and he's good. Okay. So he might actually get some time in the backfield. So all that said, it sounds like they know what their needs were. They filled in spots, but at the same time, you made faces when we talked Kinlaw. You made faces when we talked Wagner. And then Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel have been injured over the last couple of years as well. So you went and fixed what you could. You did the moves. Yeah. But everything has a tinge of house of cards.
I'm not going to shit on anything other than the Valley Wagner re-signing.
I mean, they didn't pay him a lot.
But and the reason I'm not going to shit on anything is because last year I was really, really down on what they did, and they ended up coaching a lot of those guys up to performing way above where I had them from a talent line.
Luvu was nice.
Yeah, Luvu was their best pass rusher. Ultimately, it was an impressive job of coaching guys up. And if you're gonna say the Deebo Samuel situation in San Francisco was obviously toxic. Like he clearly needed a fresh start.
Yeah, he didn't
and
want
you're
to
giving him a fresh start. So I'm perfectly fine kind of just holding my breath and saying the coaching staff's going to get something out of that move. The Laramie Tunsil situation. He is an elite all-pro tackle. He was just a walking penalty last year. And presumably coaching could do something to help him improve whatever was going on. And, honestly, Houston might have been asking him to do too much. Because he was the only certifiable starting quality player on that offensive line. And so, with the more competent line and a better offensive line coach, maybe he, solves some of that and has a nice little final chapter of his career in Washington as the long-term left tackle for, to protect the blind side. And that would be awesome. I very, very much would love to see that. So it's in the Kinlaw thing, like he's presumably he has the talent, and I also don't know if you really need to hit on him. Like, I'm not sure that is a must hit as far as the move goes, considering what your capital.
You drafted Johnny Newton last year, like.
Yeah, Newton might also like if Newton beats him.
We have Kinlaw at home.
Was a bad move. It was like, well, Newton beating him, that's a good sign, right? So there's certainly there are kind of. And I like their draft personally. I gotta be honest with you. I really liked their draft. And I really liked bringing in two corners in Jones and Amos, who can give you the ability to put Sanders still back properly in the slot as your nickel corner.
Sanders still not a guy we mentioned because we were on, changes, not who stayed, but Sanders still was improving. I think having two good outside corners will help him improve.
Yeah.
Will Harris probably. I think Harris maybe helps a little bit in how you use your linebackers as far as run stop. And then what was it? Clellan Ferrell, again, he's depth. He's second string. He's a good run stopper. Like if you need to move some guys out because it's not a pass rushing down, if you need to bring big bodies in, Ferrell, Eddie Goldman, you can bring in Big Boys Town and stop short yardage.
Yeah. So here are the two themes I take away from everything they did, right? Because when you hit on a rookie quarterback and it as early as they know it, like that gives you many paths to choose from in terms of how you're now going to pursue a championship this quarterback is on his rookie deal, right? And if I'm trying to say, well, what did they do exactly? It looks to me a lot like they're giving themselves optionality on both offense and defense, right? Like they've added players that give them more looks, more kind of, you can't just look at last year's tape and know what to expect coming in this year with the way that they've rostered this team. And they've also kind of filled holes, not necessarily with players who really will move the needle for you, but who allow you to move other guys into better spots, which I really kind of appreciate. You don't want to have a guy like Sanders still playing anywhere but the nickel role on your defense. And now with the additions you made, you can kind of lock him down as that role, which is, I think, useful. So, ultimately I appreciate what they did. And I hope they gave themselves some flexibility where if they decide they have one more move they need to make next year to really kind of put themselves in the conversation with the elites, that they'll have the assets and the capital and the and the cap space to be able to do it. I think they've done well to give themselves the path needed to take a step forward as far as kind of having a more talented roster.
You bring back the young quarterback, you don't lose your offensive coordinator.
You know what else is worth?
I mean, a lot of teams who go to the championship games lose a coordinator.
I'm so glad you said that. That is the other major positive of their offseason. Everybody's back.
Yeah,
that's huge.
The coaching staff is almost identical. They hired
fully retained
a special teams assistant. Man, it's almost everybody's back, and I think that helps to continuity. Lack of continuity on the. We'll talk offensive line after we get to schedule. Lack of continuity.
Sam brings up a good point. There are a lot of unhappy edges. Hendrickson's just one of them. Eyes wide open on them making a move for a guy. I would love somebody younger than Hendrickson or better, but he would also be interesting.
You could do a lot worse.
The edge situation doesn't look great, but you know what else though? Name me a good Dan Quinn defense that had elite edge play. I'll wait. All of the best defenses he had were defenses that were kind of anchored by the linebacking and
play
and secondary. And which is why Bobby Wagner is the question mark.
Yeah, it's like
these guys got a walking target.
Dan Quinn probably just has a crush on him still. Like
I guess
Bobby Wagner.
I guess. And
Dan Quinn's a big deal. He
they're
probably
phasing him into an on-field coaching role. I guess.
Yeah, I think Bobby Wagner would be a great coach.
I'll get over it. I did forget to mention a couple things when we were recapping last year that I just wanted to hit really, really, really quickly. The Washington Commanders were the most fun team to watch in football last year. They were involved in so many fun endings.
Yeah, we already talked about the Cowboys game.
So the Cowboys game was great. We didn't even get to the Bears game where Stevenson ended the Bears season by shit talking the fans before giving up the Hail Mary.
Didn't they lose like 8 or 10 straight games after that game?
Yeah, that was it. Season was over. We didn't mention the Saints game where the Saints got a completely unfair down that they shouldn't have gotten to try to win the game, but the Commanders defense stood up and got the stop and win by 1 point in New Orleans. Really, really, really good Sunday game against the Eagles at the end where they lose by 3 in a hard fought contest. Really, really good overtime game against Michael Penix and the Falcons. Where they punched their ticket to the playoffs with a win in week 17. Like there were some, I'm probably forgetting other ones that I didn't even watch, but like there were some really, really good games, and they were the most fun team to watch. Like
entertaining in a bad way.
True. And what was otherwise a no fun league last year, broadly, the Washington Commanders were extremely fun. So I just want to hat tip them for being number 1 in the power rankings of fun teams to watch. All right. What do you want to look at schedule next?
Yeah, let's look at the schedule and then we'll start going over our upgrade/downgrades for the year. So as you mentioned off the air, a little tough at the end, but in general it's uneven, a little soft in the middle, maybe like me. You have some very winnable games to start the season, along with some, a couple toughies, and it's mainly because they're road games. You're a better team than Green Bay, but you're on the road. Same thing with the Chargers. You're on the road. You're traveling across the country. You have a couple primetime games. Look at you, 4, 5, 6, a Saturday standalone. Like you have arrived, Washington. There's some big pink squares. If you're watching this on YouTube rather than podcast form, big pink squares are big rest disadvantages. And when it's a 6-day rest disadvantage like that, it's almost certainly somebody coming off their bye. So 3 of those and only, one where you're playing a team. How would they have such a big rest disadvantage early? Oh, Thursday night to Sunday.
It's a 3. It's a +3. Yeah. So, I didn't check and I should have had this available, but I don't know that there's another team that's playing 3 teams coming off their bye, and then their bye gets neutralized because they're playing another team coming off their bye. Yeah, so the cumulative rest disadvantage for them is real this year. The travel is not really much of a factor outside of they are going on one international trip. They will be playing at Miami, or with they wash a road game to a neutral, where they'll have a travel advantage when they play Miami in Madrid, I believe. That's the Madrid game. Madrid, Spain. Not an especially of all of the trips, Washington and Madrid is probably the easiest of the international trips. The kind of obvious thing that I see when I look at this relative to last year is they're playing a much tougher schedule of quarterbacks this year than they did last year. There's there are some notable kind of more competent passers of the football on this schedule than there were last year.
It's funny they brought up the Madrid game as Real Madrid. The team that plays in the arena will play that day is just getting fucking pieced up by PSG right now. 3-0.
Having a year, man. Are they
3-0, 24 minutes in? Oh my God, they might just wreck Chelsea too.
When's the last time that the same team won the UCL and the FIFA Club World Cup?
Maybe it's never happened.
It's probably
it might have been Madrid,
Club World Cups.
Anyway. But yeah, that is cool. Like that's a cool stadium. That's
okay. Cool.
Historic. Like having some of these historic soccer stadiums host games is pretty cool, which is fine.
Yeah. They are
but yeah,
favored.
it does create a weird spot, but I love waking up early and there's a game on already.
Yeah. As we look at sort of the implied wins here, they're only at 9.5. And it's definitely it's one win fewer, I think, than what Philly is expected from just a win perspective. Some of that is the difference in power rating between Washington and Philly heading into the season. Some of it is schedule, but they have 2 games where I would say they are true dogs, at KC and at Philly. And then I think 5 games where they are true coin flips. So hosting Philly, hosting Detroit, hosting Minnesota, at LA, and at Green Bay are all what I would qualify as coin flips. So, if you lose your 2 games where you're meaningful dogs and you split your coin flips, or even if you go 2 and 3 on your coin flips, that's that's still only 5 losses. And then that gives you some space to surprise, do something dumb, or absorb a loss due to injury or schedule, and you're right in that sort of 10-6 range. Or I guess 11-6, 10-7 range. So I think ultimately this is a team where if they didn't finish with the winning record, I would be pretty surprised, and I would ask you, well, what week did Jaden Daniels get hurt then?
Yeah, essentially that's it. And that's a lot of teams. I mean, that's going to happen. 2 or 3 teams are going to have massive cluster injuries or quarterback injuries and greatly underperform. And that's not something we're going to be able to predict preseason. But yeah, if things go well, the injury luck is maybe a little worse, but not catastrophic. 10 wins, right?
Yeah.
Feels
10-11.
Feels pretty 10 winsy.
10. This is like a 10.5 win team to me.
Yeah, it's just tough. There's some tough coming off the buys. You have the travel spots. You have a very tough Philly team. Dallas could be a lot better. So yeah, 10's probably where I'm at. Since we are sponsored by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, I don't know about picking Circa Millions this far out, but we have been looking at that a little. If now I kind of want to do a Survivor entry. I talk big about only doing millions, but I might do a Survivor entry too.
Let's do both.
You gonna pick one of your
No, I meant it from an analysis standpoint.
Oh, for sure. No, but for Survivor, I think there's definitely a couple spots, and it's almost certainly a team you have to use at some point. And I mean,
week 3 looks pretty good. Extra rest, travel advantage. 7.5 point favorites against an out of conference opponent, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think you can pretty much put that one in pen. Not a lot of other future kind of utility for them that's worth saving that I can see. That Seattle spot is tricky because Seattle's coming off by.
And your Trev, that one's home. Nope, that one is home. I was going to say some of the teams that you should beat the tar out of are in funny spots. Like I'd like that Miami one a lot more if it weren't in Spain.
You know what you might need to save them for though?
Christmas. I was going to say, like, the only other one is Dallas, and then I looked and like, oh, that's a standalone one. I think you do have to work backwards a little. Because Circa makes you pick Thanksgiving and Christmas. You might have to look at those, work backwards on who you're saving for at least Thanksgiving. But if you really believe in yourself, maybe saving them for Christmas isn't the worst idea.
Do you remember what the Christmas game is? The other Christmas game?
Dallas, Washington.
No. What's the other Christmas game? Because you have to pick one. You have to pick one out of those 4 teams.
I thought it was like Fikes Lions or something.
Okay, so then I've wasted a lot of time. This was an easy answer. You're saving Washington for the Christmas.
Oh, there's 3. So that you also have Denver, Kansas City, which shit.
Good luck.
At least it's in Kansas City. They'll be favored. Detroit should be what? Pick'em / small dogs at Minnesota, depending on how that quarterback situation goes. So yeah, your Christmas game, boy, that's tough. That's tough because if you're saving them, you have to get there. but I think it's the ultimate, betting
They
on
might,
yourself.
but as I look at the schedule, I think they're worth saving for that.
Yeah.
So
Because otherwise,
right
it's Las Vegas for me.
Right now, Dallas, Washington is predicted at a 5.5 point spread. And that realistically, like, we didn't mention this when we talked about Dallas yesterday, and I meant to, but the probability of Dak making it fully healthy through a season, considering the state of that offensive line, is not 100%. Like, that very clearly could be a backup quarterback situation for Dallas if they're not competitive, and if Dak is banged up. So KC right now would be favored by 4.5. Minnesota right now would be favored by 2.5.
And if that's a backup quarterback, you're laying 10 points.
No, I take it back. Excuse me. The look ahead from Minnesota to Detroit is Minnesota 2.5 point favorites in mini. How about that? Does that surprise you?
Out. Huh. I guess everybody's cold on Detroit like you.
I think that might be a Circa millions pick if that's Minnesota catching 2.5 points in that game, Andy. All right. I don't think I could realistically recommend anyone use Washington, knowing that in order to win the millions, you're going to have to use them on Christmas.
Yeah, just assume that you'll be in the last 8 people and save them for Christmas. I think that's what I'll be doing. And I got my rooms booked. I'm ready to go.
You really don't want to have to use Dallas if you've used all other 5 teams, Andy.
No, can you imagine?
You will probably have used the other 5 teams. If you are not being conscientious about Christmas for Survivor, that you're going to be stuck taking Dallas in that game.
Ish.
And who even is the Dallas backup quarterback this year? Is it still Cooper Rush, or has he moved on to greener pastures?
That's a good question. I think
it's Joe Milton.
Oh yeah, remember we talked about it. They signed Joe Milton.
Joe Milton. Okay.
All right. Well, join us out in the desert in a month. I'll be out there in 1 month and 4 days, guys. Get signed up for Circa. Get signed up for the Survivor and the Millions. Lots of money to be had if you win. And honestly, if you win, we'll have you on the show.
Absolutely. That's a promise.
We'll let you victory lap.
Open invite.
Open invite for sure. Do you remember that when I did that open invite to everybody? I posted the link to join the show to Twitter instead of the YouTube link, and suddenly there's 100 people in the waiting room.
That is fun.
All right, let's talk about our power ratings for this upcoming season.
QBOC 8.5 for me.
I had lost my sheet. I don't know where it went.
I
had a good number.
There's only 3 numbers for QBOC that are higher than this for me. And it is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes. I think 8.5 is where you put Washington, and I think 8.5 is where you put for quarterback OC. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
For QBOC,
I guess I am too.
My offensive number for the Eagles is higher, but for QBOC, I'm higher on the commies. You're at an 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at an 8.
8.5 for me. Skill.
Not much. We already talked plenty about him. We don't need to talk anymore about.
I guess here's the other thing is that, like, I'm not as worried about Cliff Kingsbury sophomore slump either, because again, like, it wasn't as straightforward. Well, he's number 1. He's been around, and number 2, their success last year wasn't fueled by gimmicky stuff that can be solved by 8 weeks of film crunching, right? It was a lot more esoteric, I think. And so I don't know that there's going to be all of a sudden a big, huge step back in playmaking. And I also think the weapons, the way that they kind of rostered this gives him even more knobs to push and levers to throw and buttons to push, particularly when he's got the defensive coordinator's pants down because he's running no huddle.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Stay healthy. Everything should turn out. That year in Thailand really paid off. Offensive line. This was weird because I had to go back and look at my changes because of the Cosme injury. And when it happened, it was the divisional round. And it made it hard to be like, well, I'm I guess they'll be worse. But I didn't have a very high number here to start the season to end last season because of that and the fact of, they didn't have Tunsil yet. They were starting a pretty stitched together offensive line at times. What are your projected starters for the line this year? Because I'm looking at Tunsil, obviously, at left tackle. Brandon Coleman kicking in. He did play left guard at TCU, so he's played guard.
I think he's going to be just fine there.
Yeah, I think playing next to Tunsil and then having Biotish.
Yeah, no heartburn at all between center, left guard, and left. That is a strong left side.
I think that, the left side improved. So Cosme is the timelines. They do this thing where they're like, we don't like to set a timeline. So there's really no telling. Like, he's jogging around a little. This happened in the playoffs. It was an ACL, but he's not a wide receiver. We don't need him to run a 4.4.
So this was the Lions game, right?
Yeah, it was. That's what I'm saying. This wasn't like week 8. This happened in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I have no idea when he's coming back. Mid-season, your guess is as good as mine.
We'll assume he starts on the PUP, so the soonest he'll be back is early October. I think mid-October is reasonable, though. So in his absence, you're going to get some Nate Herbig. You're going to get some who was your guess? Algoretti.
Yeah. It could be Algoretti or Nate Herbig. Herbig is a good swing tackle to have as a backup.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Connerly. There's talk of there's talk of the rookie, maybe even if they're impressed with Wiley, who was your right tackle. If they're fine with him at right tackle, they could even play the rookie at right guard. So they have some options, but obviously much weaker on that side. The offensive line has improved, though. So that number is up for me. And I think this can be a league average offensive line. I'm making this number with the backup right guard right now. So I'm still at like a 4.5.
Oh, I'm higher than you. I'm at 6.
I'm just not like Tunsil's not coming in and fixing the world.
I think he is.
Okay. I'll move it up, but
I still think he is very good. I know that there are things you can point
penalties.
To. There are things
the metrics aren't great.
You can point to that, surely.
Yeah.
But his pass rush win rate, Andy, it's good. He is still very, very good. I don't know. Hopefully he's not setting them back with false starts. We'll see.
I don't think he makes them worse, but I mean, I had this at like a 3 at the end of the year.
Okay. Fair enough.
So 4.5. 4.5's an upgrade. We'll leave it there.
Okay. Skill group. Did you already say your number?
No, I did not.
What do you got?
Well, let's talk quick. McLaurin is holding out. No OTAs, no mini camp.
Hate it.
I think they're going to sort that out, but he's in such a weird spot because he's 30. When did he turn 30? Like, he's suddenly 30. It feels like he's so young. I went back and looked. He played a lot in college. He's like a 23, 24-year-old rookie. So, like, he has to get his money because you aren't getting some big mega deal at 33 or 34. So, like, I understand where he's coming from. They need to make this happen. Obviously,
we are assuming that they're waiting to see if they can solicit a deal for a edge first to know how much money they can give him. That's kind of what I'm assuming.
Right? They're in pretty good. They're in good shape cap wise, though.
No, I know, but they presumably, if they bring in whoever they bring in, like a Hendrickson or a Watt or name your favorite available edge, they're gonna have to give that guy a new deal on day one. So I don't know that you do McLaurin because you want to keep McLaurin off the field anyway. I don't think you want him to pick up a hammy in training camp, and I don't think he needs the reps. So I think you basically say, hey, man, like, we'll get you. We know this is a priority for us. And, it has more. Is it a holdout or is it a hold in?
It's kind of a holdout. I think they're calling it a holdout. So he's just not showing up right now.
Well, it's a holdout of mini camp. It could be a hold in for training camp.
Yeah, we'll see. We're still early. It's July, but all right. So you bring in Debo. We'll assume McLaurin plays. You have Noah Brown, who's fine on the outside. Luke McCaffrey is
hurt though. Is he going to be available?
He is injured, and we don't know what it is. Like, that's very much up in the air.
Okay,
but I don't know. you have is he a rookie? Yeah, Jalen Lane, fast guy. You have Luke McCaffrey, who I guess is sounding like he's getting a lot more comfortable in the system. So it's a drop off for wide receiver 3, and then you have Zach Ertz, who is our age, which isn't great. Ben Sinnott, waiting for him to come around, I guess, as the second tight end, and then all the running backs. Brian Robinson's a very good running back, and I think with Debo, I don't think they need him to be like a 1,200-yard guy. You have Debo that's going to run a little. You have a running quarterback. You have Eckler to spell you. You have Jeremy McNichols. You drafted a rookie. Like, I think you have a pretty good running back by committee, and yeah, this is a good skill group. It's 6.5.
Okay. All right. Jeremy McNichol, by the way, had one of the best plays of the year last year when he laid that guy out on the blocking. What game was that? Was that the Hail Mary? He just laid out a guy who was coming for Daniels and gave Daniels the split second he needed to get the. Oh, he had the best block of the season from a running back that I saw. Anyway, all right, yeah.
Sorry, Bears fans, that we keep talking about that.
Oh, you don't even want
such
to
a
know.
wicked play.
You don't even want to know how sad our Bears preview is going to be, man. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. There's something potentially very, very funny that could happen this season.
Okay, we'll get there.
I'll leave it at that.
What's your skill number?
5.5.
Okay.
All right, I got to let Cat out of the bag. The very funny thing that could happen is out of the 6 quarterbacks who were drafted in round 1 last year, right? I think the lowest likelihood to make the playoffs is Caleb Williams, which would be just absolutely hilarious if 5 of the 6 starters are in the playoffs and Caleb Williams is out.
That is funny.
That would be quite funny.
Feeling pretty good about New England, huh?
I mean, the freaking AFC East is wide open for them to win 9-10 games.
Yeah, there's wild.
I'm not saying that all 5 will make it. I'm just saying he is the 6th of 6 in terms of
as far as likelihood. That's funny.
Playoffs, which is wild.
Putting him behind Penix feels mean.
The path is way easier.
Yeah, the path is there.
Way easier.
All right. So my offense is the 6th best offense. It is pretty good.
Cool. I am 4th.
Yeah, it should be fine. I think
issues
are definitely on the other side of the ball. Similar to who we spoke about yesterday. Wasn't a good run stop unit.
Landing 4th, by the way, felt pretty good considering they were 4th in EPA per play last year, and they're better this year from a talent standpoint. And all the coaching stayed together. I kind of felt like okay with that. At first, I was like, "Man, really 4th?" And I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm like, actually, no. I think that's right.
It's a pretty good team.
I think that's reasonable. All right, sorry, man. Go ahead. Defense.
Defense was weird. Yeah, they couldn't stop the run. And I think they knew it, and they ran a defense accordingly to stop, what they could stop. They ran 82.7% of last season. They ran with 5 defensive backs because they didn't have coverage linebackers that could help out, and they didn't have like the packages to put in to stop that sort of thing. So they knew teams were going to throw on them because you could. But at the same time, teams could also run on you. And they just did the best they could. It didn't turn out most of the time. But when they did win, it was usually on the heels of the offense coming through for them. So bad defense, like we talked about. They made some moves to help the run stop. They made some moves to help the pass coverage. And, Kinlaw, Goldman, Wise should help set the edge a little more. Farrell again missed time, but he's another one that bringing him in. That's a good run stopper as a rotational guy. Your linebacker group is still very, very suspect. I mean, we're just going to keep coming back to like, hey, Bobby Wagner, you're still here, and such is life. And we've got to figure out what like the next step is, I guess, as far as bringing in another guy. But there hasn't been anyone that really set themselves apart behind him. God, what is the one kid's name? This Jordan, this rookie from last year, McGee.
Jordan McGee.
Yeah. Dominique Hampton from last year, too, is another guy that they're pretty, I guess, impressed with as far as moving into playing a little more at linebacker. But it's like special teamers last year. Although I will say, if you want somebody who's good at run stop, there's no better reps for a run stopper from the second and third levels than playing a shitload of special teams.
Sure.
Hey, crash down and tackle somebody. That is run stop, especially when you're playing at linebacker or safety. So linebacker's a little weak. We talked about the corner stuff. I think that's definite improvement. And they're saying Lattimore is healthy. That was the big kind of like, it was almost a bit last year. It felt like, hey, is Lattimore playing this week after the trade? And like, not this week, not this week, maybe next week. And it went on. And because it was an exciting trade. Hey, this is something they need to do because this felt like a team that could win a playoff game. And he didn't contribute very much at all, I don't think. So him being healthy, bringing in Jones, excuse me, I would say Johnson. I knew that wasn't right. And then drafting Amos, your defense should improved. I still don't think it's good.
Okay. Are they average though?
Getting there.
Okay.
I can't.
So what are your three numbers?
I cannot start them at average.
What are your numbers?
So for run stop last year, it was a 2.5. I'm moving it to a 3 until I see it.
Okay.
I have to just assume. I can't just assume bringing in like Dietrich Wise is going to fix everything.
Okay. Pass rush.
Pass rush is a 5. That's
and
good,
coverage?
not great. Coverage is a 5.
Okay.
And that was
I'm at 4, 5.5. So we're kind of dancing around the same numbers. I don't have strong reasons for why I am where I am. I think this is going to be a slightly below average defense. And I am kind of counting on Dan Quinn to coach these guys up. So we'll see. It's not that much. It's not that different than, say, the Dan Quinn Falcons defenses from a talent standpoint, at least the way they're shaped. Coaching intangibles for you. Where are you at with Dan Quinn and company right now?
It's like a 7, right?
7. Yes, that's where I'm at too. Cool. Mostly just because of the fourth down aggressiveness and just another year of having that solidified and the chemistry between the group. The ability to get more out of the pieces last year than the sum of the parts. All these good reasons. How about special teams?
Okay. I think I have a 6 here. Let me check. Yeah, 6.
A 6? Really?
It's fine. Yeah.
Oh,
Luke McCaffrey and Austin Eckler kick returning.
Is Matt Gay any good?
Matt Gay is okay. And Tress Way is okay.
You said 6?
It's good, not great. 6 for special teams.
All right, what's your total number?
Subject to change, and also.
What's your final number?
So my total number for Washington is a 3.48 to the good. I'm rating them 3.4. I have read that, Sam, too, that they like McGee and Hampton. They like these young linebackers, but again, I haven't seen shit from either.
You want to know my number?
What is it?
3.47. So you're
higher.
more bullish. Yeah, you're more bullish on the Commanders than I am. I didn't think we were going to get there.
It's because my quarterback number was a little low, and that's such a heavy one. I was higher on skill position for sure, and then I was a little higher on pass rush for you than you.
Okay, let's talk about odds here for a minute. So the regular season win number for the Commanders is 9.5. It is the over is -112. I would only consider over there, and I would actually probably look for an alt over there because if the coaching staff proves to be good and things click into place, this is maybe your 12 or 13 win team, not just getting to 10. And so maybe I'm probably looking for an alt over 10.5 maybe for these guys, get a little plus money instead of land something. But even more than just regular season success, their make the playoff odds are -150, yes, which I agree with. The big question then is just, do they just need a seat at the table? Did they prove enough last year getting to your conference championship that you would have confidence that they just get in? They don't need, nothing needs to break in their favor. They don't need home field throughout, right? Like, just get in. like they could do some damage. They could have the best quarterback on the field for many of their postseason games, maybe all of them, because he's probably the best quarterback in the NFC.
Yeah, but it's not the best team. It's still the Eagles. So, but outside of the Eagles, every NFC team has like this really feasible path to winning 8 or 9 games, because it's like, oh my God, Dan Campbell is not a good coach. Like, this was all the coordinators. This team is fucking falling apart and nothing is working like it did last year. Like that, hyperbole. Sure. I'm going over the top with it.
Sure.
JJ has never started a game and he looks like it. Oh my God, the Vikings can win 8 or 9 games this year.
Yeah.
The Cowboys just
Baker Mayfield needed Liam Cohen.
Baker Mayfield's done his 5th offensive coordinator in 4 years. Like, he can't keep doing it. These receivers start to age, and that defense is aging out and has some holes in it as well. Sure. And they don't have a good head coach. The Falcons just can't put the pieces together again. The Cowboys do what the Cowboys do. Where does that leave us? The Niners.
The
Niners have serious roster issues. The Rams have a very old issues. How many times are we going to do this? Is Matt Stafford retiring this year? Is he going to retire mid-season? Like, there's so many question marks where it's like, this team is clearly has a very wide open path to being the 2 seed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's
I like that alt over. I like to win the NFC, that kind of thing.
I guess I'm more inclined to play them to win the NFC in the 8-1 range than I am to play them to win the NFC East. NFC East is plus 235. I think there is value there, but the Eagles, I'm still going to power rate them at least a point better, maybe 2. We'll get to that.
Don't they feel like the Vikings? Like they're going to be in the Viking spot. Where it's like, you're a 14 wins.
Like they're going to be the wild card team no one wants to play. Yeah.
Well, they're going to be a wild card team that has more wins than 2 of the division winners.
Yeah, surely could be
Vikings-esque. So
it surely could be. What would be a really fun outcome if the Falcons win the South and the Commies come in as the wild card and Dan Quinn goes back to Atlanta on the road and. And we get some fireworks. That'd be fun. All right. I guess I would just make a case if I'm playing anything in the futures pool for them, it's either an alt win total over or 8-11 to win the NFC, because I do think the upside is there. Oh, you know what else would be a fun? You know what? Actually, blind prediction here for you. NFC Championship game is Kyle Shanahan v. Dan Quinn. That'd be fucking fun. That'd be fun. I'm scary high on my Niners right now.
I'm trying to think of the
mostly
coach.
Schedule based.
There was somebody that he's with Dallas or New York now that I was just kind of digging into. He didn't come up on the show, but he was on that coaching staff those years where the Falcons were good. And it's crazy. Like both LaFleurs were there, and there's a lot of people on that staff.
Yeah.
It's not ever going to be the picture of that Washington staff from that one year, but
yeah, it's crazy cool.
That is wild. It's
cool.
And then everybody moved on.
Yeah.
They had a bad Super Bowl, if I remember right. And then everybody kind of moved on.
Was it a bad Super Bowl? I don't remember.
Something happened.
They were winning at one point.
All right.
Okay. So final thoughts is really just I do think this is a good enough team in the playoffs, even on the road, that I swing for the upside. Is not gonna.
And again, I have them as a 3.48. That is my power rating right now.
Yeah.
And for reference, if you missed it, I started the season last year as a -6 and change. This team to me is 10 points better than my expectation at this point last year, which is
incredible.
Just hats off to everybody there. Jesus, guys. Good job.
Okay. All right.
Those are few and far between.
Should we save final thoughts for the NFC East until we get through the Eagles tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll do the Philadelphia fighting the Eagles tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll call Friday.
Reigning Super Bowl champion.